Good evening, everyone. This is Meldita and I'm back. So welcome to my YouTube channel, Meldita's Info Corner. My FB is johnrigacho@yahoo.ca. Okay, overweight or obesity. Lose it or leave it. Part 1 will be about digestion and absorption. Okay, so digestive system. So we have here our mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the liver, small intestine, large intestine. Okay, so what happens if you put food in your mouth? Okay, so when we take in food in our mouth, this is what's gonna happen. We have an initial digestion, and we have the following things that's gonna happen: chewing, grinding. This represents our mechanical activity, the enzyme action. Okay, and the release of the saliva from the salivary gland produces digestive juice and enzyme, and that represents the chemical digestion and the mixing of the food by the smooth muscle of the oral cavity. Okay, so the food particles now will be broken down to smaller particles, and then they're ready to come down to the esophagus with the help of peristalsis, which are the wave-like contraction of the esophagus. Food arrived in the stomach, and another thing gonna happen again, and this is there's digestion. So in here, the gastric area will release gastric juices, which has acid and enzyme, and they again break down the already finer particles. Okay, and there's a mixing of the food, a strong mixing of food by the gastric smooth muscles. So we have chemical here, digestion, and we have also mechanical activity here. So then, when that is over, the food will come down to our small intestine, and that's where the absorption will happen. Okay, so before anything else, let's discuss a little bit further about this small intestine. So here, I will, let's get, we have to see the inside portion of our small intestine here, inside the lumen. So we have a linear section in here, and there's a side view. As you see, the small intestine is open, and you see lots of villi. These are the absorptive units, okay? So let's talk about the layers of this small intestine. So here, okay, so we have here mucosa, we have here submucosa, then we have also the thin muscle, and we have also the subserosa. That's the subserosa, and also the serosa. So here, under mucosa, we have the villi, we have the connective tissue, and the thin muscle. But under the submucosa, they are mainly the vessels. We have the arterial, the veneal, the lymph vessels, and we also has here the nerve. And under the thick muscles, as it says, yes, that's a thick muscle. And then the subserosa, we have fats. And then the serosa is the outermost layer. Okay, so absorption unit. Let's talk closer about these villas. So when there are so many villas, you say villi. If there's only one, you say villus. So villus is an absorptive unit of the small intestine. Okay, so this is it. That's a big one. Okay, it's not a perfect drawing. So as you see here, it is under the submucosal area. Okay, you see the blood vessels. We have here the arterial, the nerve, the venual, and the lymph vessel. Okay, so the lymph vessel will go up. Okay, that is the lacteal. And this arterial will be up with their capillaries. And this venual will go down with their capillaries. And we have the nerve. Okay, so there we go. So we have the arterial, the capillary of the arterial. We have the venual and its capillary. The microvilli is, you see here, this is like the hair. Okay, surrounding, it's not really surrounding, halfway surrounding the epithelial cells. So we have here upward full of epithelial cells, and the outermost part, or the border, the end border of this epithelium cells, you see fine hair. So there's a lot of them, and that will promote more absorption of the the food that we have eaten already, ready and refined. Okay, so that's it. I'll go closer. You see the fine hair, each epithelial cells, you see the fine hair there. Okay, and I'll make it more here. Okay, so these are called the microvilli of the villus. So we have villi, but there's are also microvilli surrounding partially its villus. So these fine hair are called the microvilli. There we go. Okay, so when food are absorbed here from the crude particles, let's say carbohydrates, it will be refined all the way down, becoming to be glucose. They are now accepted here. And for protein are amino acids. So the protein, which is amino acids now, and the carb, which is now glucose, will be absorbed by this fine hair or microvilli, and they enter the inside part of the villus. And actually there's only a very small gap between the blood vessel and the epithelial cells, but my drawing is not perfect, so the only difference is actually one cell thickness. Okay, and the entry of these fine particles of food is by diffusion. That is under the principle of diffusion, which is more concentrated solutes outside will get into the lesser solutes, so down the gradient. Okay, so solute with higher concentration moves down the concentration gradient. So from higher to the lower, that's how the movement of the particles via these epithelial cells and the blood vessel. Okay, so through the process of diffusion. But there are also some co-transporters and everything. We're not going to go deeper. We just speak mainly of the principle of diffusion. So what's going to happen to the fats? The fats now become fatty acids. They don't be carried, or they cannot be carried into the blood vessel. Their port of entry is actually the lacteal or the lymph vessel branch. Okay, and all these things. Okay, so as the amino acids and glucose are transported or already in to the blood vessels, okay, then they will be carried out back to the right side of the heart. Okay, so you're asking me then, the way I perceive is that this arteriole here is red, that carries oxygen. The purpose of this oxygen is for use for cellular respiration of the villus. That is to make the villus work. Okay, but when you see here the vein here, the venule, it actually gets the deoxygenated blood plus already the absorbed food particles, the very fine particles, the absorbed glucose and the absorbed amino acids, and these things will join the bigger vessels and be transported to the right side of the heart and ready to go to the lungs for oxygenation again. Okay, and ready to be transported to the organ for organ use. Okay, so dirty blood going to the lungs, get the oxygen, drop the carbon dioxide, clean blood again with the nutrients, and they're ready for supply to the different organs of the body. Okay, so what happened to the lymph that carries the fatty acids? This lacteal joined the lymph vessel, lacteal, which is the branch of the lymph vessel. It goes to the lymph vessel and will be transported to the right side of the heart, and there we go.